So glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the cross, my debt to pay, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the cross, my debt to pay, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. There's within my heart a melody, Jesus whispers sweet and low. Fear not, I am with thee, peace be still, in all of life's ebb and flow. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. All my life was wrecked by sin and strife, discord filled my heart with pain. Jesus wept across the broken strings, stirred the slumbering chords again. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. Feasting on the riches of his grace, resting neath the sheltering wing, always looking on his smiling face. That is why I shout and sing. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. Though sometimes he leads through waters deep, trials fall across the way. Though sometimes the path seems rough and steep, see his footprints all the way. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. Soon he's coming back to welcome me, far beyond the starry sky. I shall wing my flight to worlds unknown, I shall reign with him on high. All right, let me hear you, sopranos. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. Good job. You can be seated. May we be a shining light to the nations, a shining light to the peoples of the earth, till the whole world sees the glory of your name. May your pure light shine through us. May we bring a word of hope to the nations, a word of life to the peoples of the earth, till the whole world knows there's salvation through your name. May your mercy flow through us. May we be a healing balm to the nations, a healing balm to the peoples of the earth, till the whole world knows the power of your name. May your healing flow through us. May we sing a song of joy to the nations, a song of praise to the peoples of the earth, till the whole world rings with the praises of your name. May your song be sung through us. May your kingdom come to the nations. Your will be done in the peoples of the earth, till the whole world knows that Jesus Christ is Lord. May your kingdom come. May your kingdom come. May your kingdom come on Crown him with many crowns, the Lamb upon his throne. Hark how the heavenly anthem drowns all music but its own. Awake my soul and sing of him who died for me, and hail him as thy matchless King throughout eternity. Majesty, Lord of all, let every throne before him fall. The King of kings, oh come adore our God who reigns forevermore. Crown him the Lord of life, who triumphed o'er the grave, and rose victorious in the strife for those he came to save. His glories now we sing, who died and rose on high, who died eternal life to bring, and lives that death may die. Majesty, Lord of all, let every throne before him fall. The King of kings, oh come adore our God who reigns forevermore. Forevermore. All hail, Redeemer, hail, for he has died for me. His praise and glory shall not fail throughout eternity. All hail, Redeemer, hail, for he has died for me. His praise and glory shall not fail throughout eternity. Majesty, Lord of all, let every throne before him fall. The King of kings, oh come adore our God who reigns forevermore. Majesty, Lord of all, let every throne before him fall. The King of kings, oh come adore our God who reigns forevermore. Praise God who reigns forevermore. You're the God who reigns forevermore. continue worshiping this evening. Who can satisfy my soul like you? Who on earth could comfort me and love me like you do? Who could ever be more faithful, true? I will trust in you, Lord, I will trust in you, my God. Living water, rain down your life on me, cleansing me, refreshing me with life abundantly. River full of life, I'll go where you lead. I will trust in you, Lord, I will trust in you, my God. There is a fountain. Who is the King? Victorious warrior and Lord of everything. My rock, my shelter, my very own. Blessed Redeemer, who reigns upon the throne. There is a fountain. Who is the King? Victorious warrior and Lord of everything. My rock, my shelter, my very own. Blessed Redeemer, who reigns upon the throne. Who could ever be more faithful, true? Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus, there's none but you. There is a fountain. Who is the King? Victorious warrior and Lord of everything. My rock, my shelter, my very own. Blessed Redeemer, who reigns upon the throne.
Opportunity for us to gather together as family, Lord, to listen to an opportunity about ministering in a place, Lord, that is foreign to some of us, Lord, but we need to hear about how your ministry is progressing there in the Dominican, and Lord, we're so grateful for these who've come and are going to share that ministry with us this evening. Lord, be with us as we go about our week, and thank you for the blessings of life that you've bestowed upon us. Help us as we gather this offering this evening, Lord, that go to the ongoing of thy kingdom in this place and in places around the world. Thank you for the hearts of these people who love you and desire to minister to the world, and we're so grateful for that, and so grateful to be a part. Continue to bless us and love us, and it's in Jesus' name we pray.
Good evening, everyone. If you don't know who I am, my name is Kim Pensinger, and our ministry is Dominican Advance, and we're so thankful to Pastor Mike for this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about what the Lord's doing in the Dominican Republic. That's where we minister. In a little bit, I'm going to introduce my wife to you and have her come up and talk a little bit about different aspects of our ministry. But I do want to say that we, like you, are excited about this team going to Canada and ministering to the Chinese there, probably in Vancouver Island. We had a girl who was visiting us in the Dominican Republic from that very area of Canada, and she's one of the family. She's Chinese-Canadian, so to speak, and has come to the Dominican many times. And so she was in our home, and we had an opportunity to meet her, talk to her, and get a little bit of a feel for the Chinese community there that you're ministering to. So it's not completely foreign to us. We have an idea of where your people are going and what they're going to do, and we're excited and rejoicing with you. Now, I realize that most of you don't know much about us, and so I'm going to take just a little bit of time to give you a foundation of how we came into what we're doing in the Dominican Republic. And I really have to go back about 35 years to a man by the name of Elio Madonia from Canada. He was an Italian or Sicilian immigrant into Canada, made a fortune there, patenting the little coffee creamers, you know, the little things you open up and you put in your coffee. Well, he patented that in his country, in Canada, and became a very wealthy man, has a very large family, and became interested in giving, in philanthropy. So he decided one day to visit the Dominican Republic. He came to the Dominican Republic, got into his hotel, and told the taxi cab driver, he said, "Take me to the poorest part of town." So he arrived there, and this part of town was so bad that it doesn't even exist anymore. In other words, they've bladed it. The government came in and tore it down, and they have subsequently built houses for these people. But he was so shaken in his heart by what he saw. He was deeply moved, and he was a man that came out of poverty in Sicily. And as he was looking at this and the condition of the people, he was praying to the Lord, and he said, "Lord, this is horrible. What are you going to do about this?" And he said, the Lord spoke to him, and he said, "No, what are you going to do about this?" And so that set his gears in motion, and he began to organize a foundation called the Samaritan Foundation, not to be confused with Samaritan Purse or any other foundation that bears that name. It's strictly his foundation in Canada. And he began to feel the burden and sense the vision of the Lord to build houses and build villages for the poorest of the poor, basically. And he started with just one street, and he named the street, I think it was Sicily Street, and that was the village, but the street was actually Sicily Street, and he went back to his Italian church back in Canada, and they raised money, and that's where they started. But with each year, they began to expand to where they began to build villages. And in every village, he would put a church, a clinic, and a school for the benefit of the people there. He built villages for both Haitian and Dominicans. And that's how we came into our ministry and what we're doing there. I think it was Henry Blackaby that said, if you want to have a fruitful life, then find out what God's doing and join it. And we didn't necessarily know what God was doing through Mr. Madonia, but as the Holy Spirit brought us there, it was through him that we had the opportunity to start our first school in the village of Nazareth. And I shared a little bit how that we received the land in February, but by the end of November, we had a full running school up and running with staff, and we started with 80 children, and all 80 children had sponsors in that first 5 months, and it was just a remarkable thing that the Lord did. But it hasn't stopped. It didn't stop there. And it has been one step after another. And so many times we just feel that we're running after Jesus, that Jesus is out there with this plan. And I'm going to share before I finish here a new project that the Lord has given us and entrusted to us that I think will really inspire you. But it's been that type of thing. I also want to say that we, from the very beginning, decided that we didn't want to be everybody's answer. In other words, we had been far enough down the road. I'm not, like I think you guys say, it's not my first rodeo. We'd been in ministry for decades, in pastoring and schools and different things. So we didn't want to take it upon ourselves to be the answer for everyone's need. And that's the beauty of what we're doing, is that we work in conjunction with so many other missionaries in the area. And we have dear friends that operate medical clinics. We have friends that build those houses, and they're planning another village here in the next few years, 400 houses for the poorest of the poor. And we are in relationship with missionaries that have churches and feeding programs, and we're in relationship with those people. But the part that has fallen to us is the area of education in schools. Now, previous to us coming on board and working in Samaritan Foundation villages, no criticism of the Samaritan Foundation, but they had the mentality that no school, a school is better than no school. And so they would put a school in a village, but it really was not, there weren't any particular standards, if you know what I mean. It was just kind of a school type of program where kids from the village could come, and there was no real accountability. They didn't really put much into the hiring of teachers. And when we came on board, we said, that's not what the Lord has put into our hearts. We want to do what we feel the Lord is calling us to do, is to raise the bar and to represent the heart of the Father towards these children. It was kind of like, here you're building all these homes for these people, and you're caring for them physically and this and that. Why don't we do the same with education? Why don't we put the very best school that we possibly can in those villages for those people? And so we try to model or to match the heart of God in His compassion, in His love, in His kindness, and in His integrity. And so we have a director of education that has she has a law degree, she has a degree in education, and she just completed her master's degree in school administration. And in the midst of these poor villages, ministering to the poorest of the poor, we have one of the best schools in the entire province that we're able to field there for those children, and to be the biggest blessing that we possibly can for them and for their family. As a matter of fact, the directors of the Dominican Board of Education came to visit our school right before we left, and they were just absolutely amazed at what they saw. And I know that when you see some of the pictures or some of the video that I'm going to show, it's not up to Cooper High School over here standards or anything like that, but for our area, for the people that we're ministering to, it is a huge, huge blessing. So we have a staff of all accredited teachers. We do what we do with integrity, and we do what we do with the idea of providing an avenue of escape out of poverty for these children and for their families. And I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit, but I want my wife to tell you a little bit of the background of how we began our school feeding program, which is called Nutri Niños. And this is my wife, Josie, and our daughter Zoe's over there, and she's going to talk a little bit now.
I just want to add a little bit to the heart of God and how He bestows on us His very best. And we've seen it over and over again. So as that has become a reality in our lives and in our heart and what we do, and we've transferred that over to have it be an expression that everything we do, we say, this is the heart of God. We want the very best. Obviously, there are limitations. One of them can be resources, manpower, whatever, but we try to do the very best. And I'll give you an example of that. Neither one of us are experienced with any type of building or construction, but we were having that, our first school, Nazareth, being built. And we were leaving for furlough, so they were already building the walls, and they were like about 3 feet high or so. And so we wanted to go take a look at the progress and to take pictures and to show the people that we were going to be speaking to. And I remember walking and looking at, going down the hallway, and actually you're going to see pictures of the finished product. But anyway, going down this aisle, and they had the walls of where the classrooms were going to be. And each classroom was supposed to fit 25 children, okay? So I walked into one of them, and I'm looking, I said, I'm doing some calculations and trying to, figure the desk that's going to, teacher's desk, and also the desk where the kids were going to be sitting, 25. And I looked at Kim and I said, it's not going to work. It's really, really tiny. And I started looking around, and I said, this isn't going to work. These kids are not going to fit in here. They're going to be on top of each other practically. And I went up to one of the gentlemen that was helping us out. He was doing a pro bono work, engineering work. And I went to him and I said, Luigi, I said, the kids aren't going to fit here. And we're overlooking the village because the school sits on a hill, and it's surrounded by 90-something homes. And he's looking, and very poor people. He looks over at where the houses were, and he looked over to me and he says, just give him whatever. He says, they'll be happy with that. And I'll tell you, when he said that, I felt like a dagger just went right through my heart. And I said, that is not the God I serve. He just does not throw just something for us to get by. So when you go to the school in Nazareth, that team that's going to be going, you're going to see a mismatch of classrooms, and you'll actually get to see that the smallest room, which we're now using as a computer lab, and it fits the computers. But I said, that's not going to be our approach, because that is not the God that I serve. And so I just, wanted to kind of go along with what the story that Kim was saying, because it is so true. We tried to be the hands and the feet in the demonstration of the heart of God. Going from there to Nutri Niños. Nutri Niños is a program that started about 4.5 years ago. Looking for sponsors was something that didn't come easy for us, or at least not for me. And asking people for their support for these children. And I knew I wasn't asking for myself, I was asking for on their behalf. And so it comes to find out that some of the teachers came to complain to me, and they said, some of these kids are misbehaving, and they're not paying attention. They're having problems sitting in class, and so forth. And I said, well, what's the problem? They said, they're not eating. They're coming to school without having had any type of breakfast or whatever they're supposed to be eating. They're not eating. They're coming to school that way. And immediately I thought, another thing to fundraise for, or to look for sponsors and to help with this program. I really did not want to take it on, and God is my witness that it was a very difficult thing. So I began to talk to other missionaries and asking them if they wanted to take on the project there in the school. And I said, I will be more than happy to facilitate the property, the place, but can you run this program? And every single one of them said no. So I was left with holding the bag, I guess you can say. And but before we started this program, I said, I'm going to make sure that this is correct information before I began to launch this program. So we did a survey, and I asked the teachers, I said, I want you to find out which child has not eaten, find out a little bit more if they're eating at all, and that give me all that information. And I'm going to give you a conservative percentage, but 50% or more of the kids were coming to school with not having any breakfast at all. So try teaching children, if there's any school teachers here, try teaching somebody, or even your child that hasn't had breakfast, just see how they act up and how they try to, they're just not able to concentrate. So in a classroom, when you're trying to teach them their numbers, their letters, and they haven't had anything to eat, that's very difficult. So we started this program, and I said, didn't know how it was going to come about. Within 1 week, just goes to show you how God works. Within 1 week, we had an organization, YWAM, some of you have heard of it, Youth with a Mission, was in the area. They wanted to, they had a budget, which I wasn't familiar with, a budget that they wanted to put towards a need or a program. So I had already done my homework. I knew how much it was going to cost to build a kitchen. And so when they said, well, what do you want done? I said, well, I need a kitchen. And they said, well, how much is it going to cost? And I said, $3,000. And they looked at me and they said, this is exactly the amount that we have to give towards the program. I said, okay, we're game, we'll take it. So the minute we started that program, let me just correct something, because I don't want to give you any false information or sound like, some of these kids were eating, but they were not eating until 3, 4, and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, after the father had worked all day, had earned enough money to buy food for that evening. So they were getting fed towards the end of the day, basically. But there were some that were not eating. We've had cases where some of the kids were fainting. We rushed them to the nearest doctor, and all the symptoms of malnutrition and so forth. But I don't want to bore you with a lot of things, but we started this program and we began to see just that the kids blossom academically. We have a flyer that'll kind of give you a little idea of what is actually, what the benefits have been. And again, if you're a parent, you know, you don't need a whole lot of convincing to know the benefits of having a good breakfast. And all that that entails attending school and so forth. So we have this flyer, this brochure, and it talks about the 3 benefits that we've seen: improved concentration, high energy level, and healthier children. And story after story from every teacher was just impressive. They were crying and saying, you don't realize what this has done to the kids. And they're concentrating, they're completing their work on time, they're not falling asleep in class, they're not acting up. And so to all the people that have given to this, it's amazing. And we've just seen just an incredible benefit. These kids are benefiting from that. So thank you. And if you want more information, I have, like I said, these brochures, and we also have a website for that. So, and I'll give you that information. We are serving over 2,000 supplemental meals a week. And it's $80 will feed one child for the whole school year, for the whole duration of the school year. $80, which is really not a lot. The meals consist of oatmeal, the grains, meats, cheese. I forgot to mention that, I was talking to Belinda. We do provide them like a sandwich of bread with cheese, and they love their salami. So we try to keep it within the local. We're serving them rice. As of a few months back, we began to incorporate rice, and they absolutely love it. They prepare it for them. So when the team goes, you'll be able to see that and be able to participate with that. But it's $80 for the whole school year. We'll provide for one child. It is we put all the monies in one pot. We don't single out one child, because we don't want anybody left behind. So, but it's very affordable and it's very beneficial. So, thank you. Okay.
So I also wanted to say or reiterate what I said on Saturday night to the team, is that the Dominican children are some of the most precious, beautiful children in the entire world. And the Dominican people are some of the most friendly, transparent, and trustworthy people that I've met. I remember when I went on that very first mission trip in 2004, and I said I was apprehensive. There's a number of reasons why I was apprehensive, but one of them was the fact that I didn't know what awaited us, because I had been overseas before. I had been in areas where there was anti-Americanism. I had been in areas where there's resentment and things like that. And yet when we went to the Dominican Republic from the get-go, these people welcomed us and the little kids would run after the shuttle bus there that would carry the team, and they are some of the most precious children that you will ever meet. And that's going to be a joy that awaits your team when they get to the DR. Now, where are we today? Today, we just had our pre-enrollment for next year, and so next year we will have 460 children in our two schools, one in the village of Nazareth and the other in the village of Paradise. And we're looking forward to every single opportunity that the Lord puts in front of us. And the big project that God has laid on our heart is a high school. And you might say, well, why a high school? Well, when we started out, we were so happy to see all those little kids. I mean, we went from pre-K to second grade. That was our first year. And then, third grade, and then fourth. And then we got a second school, and we started building that. Every year we add a class. Well, those little kids aren't little anymore, the ones we started with. And in the Dominican, you can actually be much older and attend school. So we had some seventh graders this year that were 17 and 18 years old. And so the girls now, they're wearing brasiers. And so you've got this and you've got that and different things that are happening and all these things. And so you'll see this in the DVD and in the video. It begins to dawn on us, well, what happens after the 8th grade? What happens to all these kids that we've watched grow up? Pastor has been sharing testimonies. I know it's the joy of his heart. Certain people in the congregation, he said, they've been in this congregation since age 3, since age 4, since 5 or 6. Well, it's kind of like that with our schools, although we don't have that longevity. But our children started out as little wee guys, and now they're growing up. And we have instilled within them this desire for a brighter future. And so what happens? What kind of future are they going to have if after the 8th grade they never go on to high school? Some of their parents have an 8th grade education. What's going to happen? So God really began to stir us up that there is no high school for these children. There is no possibility for them to go to high school, so unless we build it. And so that's our project. We're going to be building a high school for these children, and that's you're going to hear more about that. But that's where we are now with our educational system. That now it's going to be possible for a child in those villages to go from pre-K all the way up to the 12th grade and to graduate with a diploma and to understand informational systems. Josie mentioned that we have a computer lab, and we're putting a computer lab in the school in Paradise as well, the two schools, because we're majoring on digital or informational systems and technology, because we want to give these children the very best education possible. And I want to say also that we have an all-Christian staff, and one of the tenets, one of the foundation stones of our program is we are entirely Christian. We're Christian in perspective, we're Christian in practice, we're Christian in heart. And one of the cool things about being in the Dominican Republic is there's no separation of church and state. And so Dominicans are very proud of the fact that their flag is the only flag that has the Bible right in the middle of it. And so we have no problem talking about the Lord and leading children to Jesus and things like that. And so it really, really is a blessing. Amen. Thank God. So I think that said, I don't know if here's how you can help us. You have the Nutrineños. If you would like to sponsor one of these Dominican children, precious Dominican children, it's $39 a month. or $449 a year, an annual fee. If you want to pay by month, it's $39 a month. And then if you want to write one check or give one payment, it is $449. And what the details of that is that provides them with their uniform, it provides them with their school books, and we get the very best curriculum that we can, provides them with their school utilities, or rather, that's it in Spanish, school supplies, and it provides them with school programs and activities that we do, and then also our operational expenses of paying our teachers, our staff, repair and maintenance of the building, and all those things. But what it means for the child is it means that they've got someone who believes in them. That's what it means for the child. It means that I've got someone that stands behind me and that believes in me and that believes that I can fly high. And that is so, so important for those young kids. We encourage all of our sponsors to write a letter to their children, to be in contact with them, to send pictures, and to encourage them. We take the letters and we put them into Spanish and encourage the children because they need a lot of encouragement. They need a lot of love. And one of the things that our director always majors on is this not about academics only. It's about loving these children and being to them the Father's heart. And so we put a lot of love into our program for these children. But that's one thing you can do, and there's a display on the back table there. We have children. I have profiles. You can select a child today. You will see some of the children back there in the profiles are in uniform. That's because they're already attending school. We have a certain percentage of our children that do not have sponsors. We carry them. And then every year we have 50 new children that come into the system, and they all need sponsors. And so I have some children there that are holding up a little number sign because they're brand new and they're coming in and joining brother or sister, the large families, of children that are in the school. And that would really, really be a blessing to them, and it would really help us. So here's the DVD that I have. It's called Everyone Can. Everyone can have a brighter future, and everyone can provide a brighter future for someone else. And this will tell you about our high school project.
Next month, para que el próximo mes we can launch our fundraising campaign. Podamos levantar nuestra campaña para levantar fondos, and we can begin construction. Y podamos comenzar la construcción of this new high school.
In the Dominican Republic, a high school is nothing more than a building in an elementary campus because so few children go to high school and even fewer graduate. That's the very statistic and the very pattern that we are going to break, because we have all these children and we are instilling in them a vision for higher education. When you talk to people about a high school, they think there's probably dozens of them down there. And then when we explain to them that there is no high school where we are, then people begin to understand why we need a high school and just how important it is to these children.
Sí, que estamos agradecidas de Estuardo Penciller y todos los personajes del proyecto, porque es algo muy importante en nuestra vida y en nuestra diferencia.
Yo pienso que es una oportunidad para que aquella persona que necesite estudiar pueda lograr su sueño y alcanzar la meta que otros no pueden.
Not only is it a high school, though, it's also going to be a technical center. We're going to be teaching informational systems. We're going to have a computer lab with state-of-the-art or near state-of-the-art equipment. And then in the evenings, we're going to open it up to the public so that adults from the villages can come in and receive adult education in informational systems and in computing. So unless we provide them with this high school, most of them are just going to drop out at the end of 8th grade, and they're going to hang around the village and end up doing menial jobs.
Ya tenemos un compromiso permanente.
We have a permanent commitment.
Esta necesidad debe hacerse una realidad.
This necessity must become a reality.
Los beneficios a la comunidad son amplios, significativos y duraderos.
The benefits are big, amplified, and forever.
Es por tanto que le invitamos a cada uno de ustedes
Therefore, we invite you
a convertirse en nuestros socios
to become in our partners
para crear un cambio en esta sociedad
to create a real change in this community
e impactar a la generación emergente de la juventud dominicana
and impact the youth, Dominican youth,
y definitivamente ofrecerle un futuro más brillante.
and definitely to offer them a brighter future.
Yo creo en un futuro más
I
brillante.
believe in a brighter future.
Gracias.
Thank you.
We realize that just teaching these kids geography and history and Spanish, at the end of the day, if that's all they know, they'll be just as far behind kids in the developed world as they are now. Because high school students and children today, it's all about the internet. It's all about the computer. And so that's what we want to teach them, so they can catch up, so they can be productive citizens.
It is God that puts a burden and desire in your heart. Es Dios que puso la inquietud en su corazón. And it is God that's going to work the miracle step by step. Y es Dios que hará el milagro paso a paso. It moves my heart. Mueve mi corazón. To tell you, decirles, that last night we finalized the purchasing of the land that you see. Anoche terminamos la compra de esa otra tierra.
I can't think of a more compelling need and more worthy project to invest in. When I look at our 7th graders and I think they have just one more year of school before they graduate from the 8th grade, we can position them for a brighter future. We can offer them an avenue where they can make something of their lives and go on to be productive citizens and really make a difference in their community and in their nation.
So I just want to say one other thing. That was our groundbreaking ceremony in March, and at that time, Mr. Reverend Nicholas was there, and he had, as he said, finalized the purchase that bought more acreage for our high school. But prior to that, we had a small plot of land. We were going to do what we could do with what we had, and we were planning on a high school for 200 students. He and others got on board with the project, and as you saw there was $70,000 that came in donations, which we are using to build the high school. And they came on board with us, but with the idea that now the high school would not have an enrollment of 200, but would have an enrollment of 600. And so we're using that other land to expand our project. We had to go back to the architect, redo our design, redo our ideas. And so we're looking now at it being a high school for the entire region, that once all these villages are up and running, there'll be 600 children plus their families that will be impacted through the gospel of Jesus Christ and through Christian education in that area. And we could not be more grateful to God. We could not be more grateful to God for positioning us like that. And so we're already working on the construction site. We already have, tomorrow, they put the roof on the administration building. And so the project now is so big that we've divided it into 4 different stages. The first stage is what we need to start with next year. We have to have that high school, that first stage done by pretty much this time next year, summer of August of 2014. And the basic things that we need is we need an administration building, we need classroom, and we need bathrooms. Now, the bathrooms are connected to the kitchen, so we're going to put the kitchen, the bathrooms, the administration building, and if we have enough money, for 2 classrooms there. And we're using the latest model for classrooms. It's going to be the university style, where you have tiers, and you put the tables there and the chairs. We're doing the very best that we can for these children and to really give them a quality Christian education. But the money is already being spent. And so we will keep building as long as we have money. And so if you would like to help us continue to build, then please think about donating to the high school project. Amen. Pastor, would you come? I appreciate that.
You guys have any questions? Have any questions you want to ask these guys? Not all at once. Yeah.
Yes, there are high schools in the country. There are high schools in the country, but we're not in the whole country. We're in one area of Sosua. But here's the thing, is that there is only one high school for this entire area, okay? And the area where we live, the transportation costs for these kids to go back down to Sosua to go to high school would be out of the question for their parents to pay. They can't pay that cost of getting them back and forth every day. And even if they could, there's no room for them because there are no high schools. As your question, as you asked the question, in our province, there's one high school. By that I mean a separate independent campus where high school students go. That is not Dominican education. That's a private school like ours is. Dominican education is, as I said in the video, is that it is one building in the elementary campus. That's the high school building. And the reason why is because so few of kids go to high school and fewer even graduate. So the idea that we have here in the States of a campus where all the high schoolers go, that is almost non-existent in the Dominican Republic. It is just a building on the elementary campus, and that's what they call high school. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
In that culture, with the high school education, how does that allow them to better themselves in their community, for their families to have a better lifestyle?
Well, it makes a whole lot of difference when it comes to employment, because most of the people in the village where we've done a survey, most of them have gone to 6th grade, or I'm going to say 40% have graduated from 6th grade, and a few of them have gone to 8th grade, and others then, there's maybe a handful that have been in high school, but they're working out of the village. So it makes a huge difference, because once they have that diploma, that opens the door to other opportunities for employment. It also opens the door to higher education. And one of the things that we're doing is we're lining up grants for these children that once they get out of high school, there'll be money there so that they can go on to college and university. And that's something we're very, very excited about. Okay. Any other question about the schools? Because Pastor wants me to mention something else too as well. We do have, there are 3 things that Dominican Advance does. We have the schools, which is the heart of what we do. And then Pastor came down to help us with the Pastors Conference. So we also present Pastors Conferences throughout the year. But another program that we have is what we call the Micro Business Program, where we put Haitian and Dominican entrepreneurs, we set them up in business. This is a program that is not microfinance. Please do not think we don't loan any money to anybody. It's not what we do because we don't want to become bank. But what we do is we receive money from businesses, churches, and from individuals who have a heart to see people prosper. And we use pastoral references for our candidates in our program. And once we select our candidates, and once we sit down, we have a board that meets, that approves these candidates. Then we put them through a 6-week course on how to start, run, and grow a Dominican business. That's the program. It's a lot of instructional side of it. It's not just giving someone a grant or giving someone money. It's the instructional side, because we're dealing with people that, you know, they don't even know what a profit is. You know, you sell this for 50 pesos. What's your profit? Well, 50 pesos. No. Then you know, once you calculate your profit, then what do you do with your profit? What do you have to, and then, so it's an entire program where we run them through, where they develop a mission statement for their business. We get them to think like entrepreneurs. You know, who is your market? Who's your competition? How are you going to set your prices? All of these different things. And then at the end of that, then we take the grant money that we have and we buy them the tools that they need. We buy them the merchandise, could be tools, whatever they need to start their own business. And we don't actually train them in a skill, but we screen them, people who have prior background in different things, and then we put them up in business, and then we follow up on them for 3 months, and then we release them. So we've had all kinds of businesses that we've started. We've started, there's a carpenter, there's a house painter, there's a man who painted really beautiful scenery, and he sold them down on the beach. We had a lot of clothing. You can buy bundles of used clothing and you can sell that. We've done a lot of those. We've done several beauty shops, home beauty shops, you know, where women will have their own business in their home. So we get them the chair, the dryer, and different things like that. We had one lady that was making printer ink in her bathtub, and she had this formula. And so we helped her because she wanted to remarket her product, and so we helped her with that. And women who sell jewelry, all different kinds of things. And I'm sure I'm leaving many of them out. But that's manicure, pedicure. But that's a program that has kind of been on the shelf because of the rapid growth of our schools. But in October, we're scheduled to do another round of classes and to have another round of candidates and put them in business. And so if you would like to help with that, that would be greatly appreciated as well. And the grants usually come in the form of $300, $450, or $600. And it depends on how much the person needs to start their business. But we cover all of their costs. We pay for the classes. We pay for their transportation to and from the classes, and then their setup costs. And so if you're interested in helping out with that, you can meet us at the back table there, and I can talk to you about that as well. And that's a great way to help someone. Josie?
And I'm going to kind of talk to the team that's, I know it's in November that you're coming, but if you have any questions regarding the Dominican Republic, and we'd be more than happy to answer that if you're curious about something. One of the things that I'm going to switch over to the educational side is illiteracy is very high there, very high. And it's kind of was a real shock for us, because we lived in Costa Rica for a year. Everybody reads. It doesn't matter where you were standing, didn't matter if you were going to a coffee shop, everybody had a book, was reading a book or a newspaper everywhere. We lived in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, which is the city. And everybody reads. And even in the rural areas and the surrounding areas, it was just everybody read. We get to the Dominican Republic, and it was amazing to find out how very few people actually can read. And we kind of laugh, but it's really not that funny, because it's rather sad. Is you'll be driving along the road and you'll see people that have set up these little makeshift businesses, whether they're selling meat or they're selling, shoes or whatever, and the misspellings are just pathetic and they're sad. And that's indicative of the educational, the education level of the country as a whole. And the government actually realizes that. They know that they have a dilemma in their hands. And going back to that, the Department of Education from the capital, which is Santo Domingo, when they came to do an inspection, because they had to do an inspection of our schools to make them accredited, they were so blown away. We actually have an invitation to visit with the Minister of Education there and to explain and to talk about our program. And so it's another opportunity for us to share Jesus as well, because that really is the crux. Pastor Mike, I really enjoyed your message this morning, and it really spoke to my heart that, you know, it's God. God entrusts us, entrusts you with things, and just realizing it's a full circle. You know, it's really, we give God so much the glory, and for allowing us to be partners with what He's doing. And so there's just a lot of things that are happening, but I wanted to say that about the educational system. Okay.
You know, one of the beautiful things about the ministry there is that it's building community, and it's a community that takes care of physical need, some of the practical things like housing and shelter and providing homes, and they've built some beautiful little villages, but also, you know, taking care of the medical concerns, planting churches inside the community, and helping not only to take care of the physical, practical needs, but also at the same time to build a reputation of love, generosity, gratitude toward God, and being able to take the gospel back into that place. It's real easy to go hit the streets and tell people about Jesus and walk away and leave them in their hunger and leave them in their illiteracy and all of that. This is a great opportunity to be able to go and to help build community and to help be a part of something that is going to last. You know, when we had opportunity to go through the schools, you know, these are folks that don't just simply talk about something they want to do. These are folks that have done what God has laid on their heart to do after, first of all, praying about it and understanding that the provision has come from God, and that they have the opportunity then to participate with Him in something that's beautiful, something that is life-changing, and that is really culture-altering. And that's what's taking place in those little villages. Russell, I'm going to impose on you. Would you come and share with us a little bit? Russell and Beth, come here. Just come stand by your man. Come stand by your man. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. One of the really special things that Susan and I had opportunity when we were there with Russell and Beth is we got to see them meet the little child that they sponsor. And I want them to talk about that for just a minute. I didn't ask them to prepare or anything, but kind of how you felt about that experience and what you think about, you know, because you've had time to kind of process on that. Why don't you share with us a little bit?
Well, I think I told the story about when we first went with Chris and Randy and Bob. Josie took us to a school, and in that school, in the back room, was an older boy, older and much larger than all the other kids in the same room. And I asked Josie at that time, can we go talk to that boy? And I could tell he's much older. And she said yes. And we, as Chris and all were sharing in the class, Josie and I and Jose Garcia, we stepped out of the room, and I said, Josie, I want to pray for this boy. And Josie interpreted for me, and we prayed. And when we got through, this little boy put his arm around me and hugged my neck. And Josie, I looked at Josie, and she was absolutely shocked. She says, "That's not Jose. He's got problems. He's 14 in the second grade. All this. That's just not right. You know. It's
this is unbelievable, because he has never had contact with people and interacted with other people. And so as we went on, before we left, I told Josie, I said, Josie, I want to sponsor that little boy. And I could tell Josie, she didn't want to answer that I could. She said, let me get with Kim, get with you. And so as that time went on, Kim wrote me a letter explaining why, because he was too old to be in school, so he was not eligible for a sponsor. My heart was broken, because that was the boy I wanted. I would have brought Jose home with us if we could. I really would have. So anyway, and Beth and I talked about it, and as we prayed about it, we knew we needed to sponsor another one, so they sent some information. They sent us 3 children, and Harlan happened to be the first one. And we didn't even look at the other 2, because we'd be sponsoring 2 more if we had it. So we stopped at Harlan. So as we took care of all the sponsorship, and then when Beth went with us in April, well, we worked it out, and Josie took us over to Harlan's home. And as we walked down, and it was not easy to get to. It was down some rough streets and just in and out, up and down washouts and things like that. And even Beth, I could tell, was getting that look in her eye like, man, this is wonderful. I got to see this. And we got to the house, and the mother came out with a boy about this tall, I guess. Harlan is supposed to be 4 years old. Anyway, we were introduced to this boy, and we were loving on him. Beth was in tears and all this. And here comes Harlan. Uh-oh. So anyway, we really felt, well, you know, this, at least we love them both. And so anyway, we got pictures made with Harlan, and it was such a special time. I just want you to say something. You can do it.
Oh my goodness. Oftentimes you hear the word sponsorship of something, and you don't ever get to have a personal connection, but you know, when we go, we get to actually see him. And there was another pastor with us. He got to meet his little girl, and a Sunday school class that sponsored one, we got to meet her. And sponsorship of these kids is real. I mean, I'm not saying others aren't, but when you see it for yourself, and it's very, very personal. And he's pretty cute. So we get letters, you know, little pictures and drawings from him. And it's very, it's just fun and precious, cute kids. Like Kim said, those are absolutely the cutest kids ever. And so sponsorship is very real, very personal, and you get to see the real everyday results. So it is good.
One thing I do want to share, and you know, he said $39 a month, and that's a lot of money. It really is. But as we were talking to Paul, the other pastor that was with us at the pastor conference, he has a Sunday school class in his church of several ladies. They sponsor one child. So it works out, you know. I mean, I don't know how many's in the class, but if you take an entire class, that burden is not so large. So if 2 people wanted to, or a whole class, it's just something to consider. And you'd be praying about that. It's, you know, it makes a difference. I think I've told you that you see all this on television, and I'm not saying they're not doing what they say, but I never felt led to do anything unless I could put my hands on it. And this, I was able to do that, and I know that every penny that's sent is prayed over before it's furnished to Harlan. So you'd be thinking about that, and maybe a class would want to do that. But it's just very moving. And taking 13 of us are going in November, and I can tell you that 13 will not come back as they left. It's that kind of experience. And I know this church goes all over the world, and that's wonderful, and we do wonderful ministries. And this works out so well. It's a short trip. We leave on Wednesday night, come back on Tuesday at lunch, and it's only 5 hours, 5.5 hours in the air, so it's not all the way around the world. So you be considering that in time to come, that maybe it's something you could do. So thank you, Kim and Josie, for coming, and Zoe. It's we really do love y'all, and thank you for the work you're doing.
So David, maybe you and Mark could get together on one of these little guys. I tell you, there are all kinds of ways that you can minister, all kinds of ways that you can sponsor, people's spiritual development, their physical development, their emotional development. I think oftentimes when I'm out at the hospital and run across Fadzai, Charles and Gayla sponsored her and her family, and their kids are grown now and have graduated and are doing great things, and sponsorship comes in a lot of different ways, and it may not be that you need to sponsor somebody in the Dominican, but it may very well be that you need to invest yourself in helping someone else get out of the bondage that they're in presently. And they may be in your own home, they may be in your family, they may be in your neighborhood, they may be in your workplace, but looking to see where community needs to be built so that the gospel can be delivered, and that it's reinforced with love and with kindness and with acts of kindness that go beyond just the superficial, but things where investment is made in people's lives. And I'm excited about our group going and participating in this ministry, and we're thrilled that you guys have come and spent your day with us, and it means a lot to us that you've done so. We do have a group that is going to leave a little before bright and early on Wednesday, and actually it's just about Russell's getting up time, so he'll be here, I'm sure, to see the group off, and all. But we'll be taking flight to Vancouver, and a wonderful time of camp and ministry with our Chinese congregation. And so I hope that you'll be continuing to pray for the group that's going to go. But we're going to do that in a special way tonight. But we're going to include some other folks. This is Kathy's going to get ready to leave this next weekend, and so we want to pray her off as well. And she'll be involved in some recovery ministries in preparation for the rest of our group coming and being there. Again, built out a relationship from previous ministries in Novosibirsk in Siberia, and so you pray for them. Incidentally, that's where you get sent around here. If you don't behave, you get to go to Siberia, right? Actually, it's a privilege to go, isn't it? And it's a wonderful opportunity to go and participate in that ministry. But Kathy, we're going to pray for you, and we're going to pray for you guys tonight as you continue your furlough. They have an extensive trip planned around the country, being able to see family and friends, as well as being able to tell the story about what's going on in the Dominican. And we want to pray for them while they're stateside, and then pray for them as they make preparation to return back to the Dominican on the 14th of August. And so let's remember them tonight as we pray, and then for our Canada group. And what I'm going to ask is why don't you guys come to the altar and just kind of find a place here along the altar. If you're part of the Canada group, come on, and then invite the balance of you. Come lay a hand on somebody and make preparation. We're going to pray for these guys. So choose somebody that you'd like to pray for this coming week, and why don't you come and stand with them and support them tonight. And Kim and Josie, why don't you guys come over here? We'll let you have a place right here.